degree. Sorry, I had a little pop up there. Graduated in 2012. And then from there, I actually applied for a full-time position in the Air National Guard in their finance department. So I worked there for a couple of years. And when I was in there, I actually got to talk with the pilots a lot. I actually, growing up, never saw myself as a pilot. I never even thought it was in the realm of possibilities for myself. So I got to talk to them, and they actually took me up for a discovery flight to see if I liked it. And I obviously did. So I put in for one of our boards. They hired me, and it is a long process from there, I'm not gonna lie. It took about a year and a half to even go to training, and then it's about 2 years of training from there. Came back, and I actually got a full-time employment as well as a pilot. I've done 3 deployments as a pilot. 2 of them were to Al-Udeid, which is Qatar in the Middle East. I flew some missions into Afghanistan and Iraq from there. And then my 3rd deployment that I most recently came back from was Guam, which is a tropical island in the Pacific. So not really much of a hardship tour there after being in the Middle East. And that's where I am today. I'm just working full-time in the military as a pilot, and I do hope to one day then transition to the civilian world, where I'll hopefully fly for United or American. So it's really all I have. I didn't go too in depth, but does anyone have any questions, or is there anything else I should elaborate on? Sorry, this was short notice for us. So we just talked about this weekend, so I didn't prepare too much. Oh, I see a hand raised. Prince?
Hello, I have a question. What was your greatest and challenging moment as an air pilot?
So I would actually just say early on in training, because I didn't have a lot of experience. So when you become a pilot, I don't think a lot of people realize, because I know I didn't, you actually have to know like everything about the plane. So not only are you needing to know how to fly it, but you also need to learn how the engines work, how the electronics work, how the fuel works, and just putting all that together. My first check ride, I studied a lot. So I would just say that initial learning curve, getting the foundation, just because, I mean, you're going from 0 to 1,000 right away, you know. Once you get that foundation from there, I think you start to build confidence, because you don't have that initial confidence. I think that's the hardest part, feeling like you, essentially, I didn't feel like I belonged there, you know. So trying to tell myself that I can do this and I belong, and getting over all those initial hurdles were, I think, the hardest part for me.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It looks
thank
like
you.
we have a question from Maria Elena.
Hello.
Hi, I wanted to ask if you could repeat. There's like one part that I didn't hear where you were saying that some people like took you to like see the airplane and to see if you liked it. I didn't like really hear that part, so I just wanted to go over that.
Okay. Yeah, so what they can do early on is what they call discovery flights. And this is just the initial where a pilot will take you up and fly you around, because you don't want to invest so much into this career and then turns out you absolutely hate it. You know, there's a lot going on for it. Some people get really bad air sickness. Some people will stick it out through it and, you know, kind of like beat it out of themselves. And then some people are just like, nope, not for me. So they took me up for a discovery flight just so I can kind of see what it was all about.
Does everybody in the Air Force have to do that? The discovery flight?
No, not everyone in the Air Force has to do a discovery flight. I do recommend it. It's something you can just do at your local aviation club. But I would recommend it before 100% committing to the path. just because there's a lot more to it than I think people initially realize.
I have another question.
Yeah.
My question was, how's the experience flying for the first time? Because back in 5th grade, I wanted to be a private pilot, so I wanted to understand the experiences from someone who actually flew a plane.
Yeah, so my first experience was actually both good and bad. The good was, to me, it actually was a little easier than I thought. But that was also partially because I was naive to everything that my pilot was doing. But then it was very overwhelming. So my first flight was in a small aero club right outside of McGuire. So there's a lot of McGuire traffic, which are these huge, intimidating planes when you're first starting out. So I was very overwhelmed with like all the communication aspect, and just absorbing it all. But it was pretty cool too, just because we were flying low and I was able to identify, the routes. So I was like, oh, there's 206, let's fly down it, So it was a little bit of both.
Thank you.
Janaya has her hand up. And Janaya is actually one of the ones who would like to become a pilot and
Oh, exciting.
and wants to open up her own pilot school.
Oh, wow, exciting.
Yeah, my question is, what was your favorite thing? Like, what is your favorite thing about being a pilot?
So I would actually have two answers for this, specifically aviation related, just taking it all in. Like when you're up there just looking down at the world, like it's just such an amazing feeling. It's amazing views. Nothing can describe that feeling when you're just sitting up there, right? But then on the other side, I would also say just the camaraderie that comes out of the aviation community. There's so much support in that community. Everyone is always just trying to help each other. I have great friends out of pilot training, even though they didn't come back to my base. We're stationed all over the world and we still keep in contact. There's just so much friendship that is built and so much support within the community.
Mary Elena, did you have your hand up again, or was that from before?
Oh no, that was from before. Sorry.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I will say, I was just gonna say, if you are interested in aviation, there are a lot of Facebook sites for networking. There's a lot of like in training sites where people get to ask questions about how people, they ask the experienced pilots questions on how they can pursue paths and stuff. It's a great avenue.
I have another question.
Yeah.
So, why did you do Air National Guard full time if you could have did active duty?
So initially it was actually my dad was enlisted in the New Jersey Air National Guard as well. So that's really all I knew. But now that I know the difference, I would still choose the New Jersey Air National Guard, just because I feel like I have more control over my own life. Where active duty, so first when you get hired, there's no guarantee what job you're going to get. You can fight for what you want, but it's not guaranteed. If you do get picked up for a pilot, you're fighting again for what plane you get. Location, same thing. You could get stuck in Nebraska or you could get put in Hawaii. There's really just no guarantee what you're going to do. So for me, I like joining the New Jersey Air National Guard because I knew I could stay in New Jersey, which I wanted to do. And then also it allowed me the flexibility to go to school full time. I did have to work, side jobs still, but I was a full-time student instead of being where in the Air National or in the Air Force active duty, you would be full-time Air Force and then you would be taking classes at night.
So, when you got to school, like since they paid for your tuition, you just like worked for like an apartment and food, or did you stay at a dorm?
So my first year, I did stay in the dorms. So the tuition was paid for, and then I did take out student loans to pay for my dorms, which also had the unlimited access to the meal plan. So I did take out loans for that. And then after that, my second year, I moved into an apartment complex. And yeah, so they had, I actually worked in our Veterans Affairs office as a part-time job and then was a server on the side. But yeah, it was just, you know, my basic survival costs at that point.
Is it more expensive to live in a dorm or to have your own apartment?
I would say dorm. Some colleges do require that your first year you live in the dorm, so unless you live within a certain radius. But yeah, I would definitely say it was more expensive to live in the dorms and I did not have air conditioning. But it's also nice at that point, right? Because I was able to use my student loans to pay for that. So I didn't have to worry about that. I had the meal plan, so I knew I didn't have to worry about what I was going to eat. I could just in between classes go. It was already paid for and I didn't have to worry about that my first year.
I have a question. Earlier you said that if you're a full-time pilot, you have to work in, you have to take classes, school classes. Do you know how many hours at nighttime, or does it just depend on your schedule?
Some of that broke up. Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Earlier you said that if you get selected to be a full time pilot and you want to take school classes, you have to take them at night. Does it uh, actually does it depend on the hours that you could take the classes at night, or does it just depend on your schedule?
Yeah, so if I were to be an active duty pilot, that's kind of what that would have been. And yeah, it would depend on your schedule. So the pilot life itself is it's very unpredictable, especially in the active duty world, because some of your flights are all day, so it becomes a lot harder. But to become a pilot, you have to already have your degree. So that's why I started enlisted. Because then I was able to be enlisted in the military while I got my degree. And then once I graduate, then I became a pilot. But the classes at night was based on just a lot of the jobs still require a full-time day job if you're active duty. But if you're in the Guard, you know, you can be a full-time student. You'll just do your one weekend a month. And then what I did while I was in school is I actually got orders, is what they call it, and I was paid to work throughout the summer. So I had a summer job essentially, and then I was just doing my weekend over the months while I was in school.
I have another question. You said you were doing a side job, taking classes and being a pilot. How were you able to manage all that?
So I wasn't a pilot yet. So when I was in college, I was just enlisted. So when you're enlisted, you really only have to show up for your one weekend a month. And then it was a lot taking classes. But when you're in college, it's not like in high school where you show up at 7 and you're done at 4, whatever your schedule is. So what I specifically did was when I sat down with my college counselor, I scheduled majority of my classes within 2 days. So I would have like all of my classes on Monday and Wednesday, so then I could work Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Or some people would schedule it so that they were always done all of their classes by noon, and then they could go work after their classes. So there's a lot more flexibility because typically you take about 4 to 5 classes a semester, and each class you only go to 4 days a week or 4 hours a week. So there's a lot of flexibility in how you outline your schedule.
Awesome. So I did tell you these scholars were going to come with the questions, so be prepared.
Yeah.
We have one more question and then we're going to wrap it up. We do have instruction immediately following this, and we don't want to take up too much of Captain Hardy's time. So
Oh, no.
Roberto, you'll be the last to go, and then we're going to wrap it up for this session.
All right, thank you. All right, hey Captain. So I was just wondering, like, what are your long-term goals with all of this?
So my long-term goals right now, I'm still trying to just get more experience in my military flying. I would like to promote to major hopefully soon and become, right now I'm just a co-pilot still. You have to have a certain amount of hours before you can upgrade. So I would like to be an aircraft commander. And then once I become an aircraft commander, I would like to go back down to the part-time status I was previously talking about, where I just do my drill weekends once a month. And I would like to move on to either United or American Airlines.
Thank you.
Okay, I lied. Janaya has one more question. She says she has many, but we can
Wait.
take one more, Janaya.
I have one too.
All right, so remember what I said, guys, you guys can send me any questions that you guys have. This was like last minute. We literally had this conversation yesterday and Captain Hardy was down and here we are. So we don't want to delay the time because we also have Professor Patty waiting to instruct as well. So one more question, Janaya, and then Mary Elena, and that's it. In that order.
Okay, so what is your basic pay as a co-pilot?
So it actually is more on your rank. So going through training, and it actually depends on your location too. So like when I was going through training as a lieutenant, I believe the base salary was like 55,000. But then you also get a housing allowance. And that one I can't, it severely is different depending on what part of the country you live in, because it's based on how much the cost of the area is. So that's just your foundation. And then you get a housing allowance. And as you get promoted, it goes up a lot. So I will say the airlines pay a lot better than the military. But you know, the nice thing about the military is the airlines require a lot of hours. So the military pays you to get those hours, and then you can transition into the airlines.
All right.
But the
Are you
housing
an airline
allowance.
pilot as well?
So I am not right now. A lot of people in my unit are. Once they get those hours, I don't have enough hours. So to become one of what we call the major airlines, again, the United, the American, the Delta, stuff like that, you have to have 1,500 hours, and I don't have 1,500 hours yet.
All right, Mary Elena, one more question.
Did you take a gap year, or did you go straight into it after high school?
So I actually enlisted while I was still in high school. So I enlisted a month before graduation, May 18th, 2008. Never forget that day. And I was actually still 17 at that time. So my dad had to sign a waiver to let me in. But I liked going right into it because I felt like I had a better mindset. And then once I was done, I flowed right into college, and it almost was like I didn't skip a beat. You know, it made sense, that flow. Looks like there's one more question.
I know, we gotta
just
go
one more.
though. No,
Okay.
hold on. All right, because we got Miss Patty, we gotta be respectful of her time as well. And we told Captain Hardy 15 minutes with a quick Q&A, but I told Captain Hardy to be prepared. So now she knows.
No, it's
So
great.
for basic
Yeah.
training, as in like the
Janaya?
Air National Guard.
Janaya? All right, go
Yeah.
ahead. One more question, but we gotta wrap it up, okay?
Okay,
And I'm
so
gonna give you
basic.
guys an opportunity to ask your questions offline.
So how was basic training like for the Air National Guard?
So the Air National Guard's basic training is the same as active duty. We go through it all together. The Air Force basic training, I will say, is much easier than the other branches. But it's a full day. You wake up, you go through some workouts. There's actually still some classroom education you go through. And it's tiring, but it's one of those things where you're just in the zone. Everyone in there is with it with you. And it just, you don't even think really, but as long as you go into it already in physical shape, a decent physical shape, it's nothing too bad. And you get yelled at, but you just tone that out. But yes, you guys are more than welcome to submit questions. I'd love to keep answering them. It's always exciting trying to get new people into this career. Like I said, I didn't even think this was a possibility for me. When I grew up, it seems pilots seemed like gods to me. So if I can help make it seem like a possibility to anyone else, that would be an amazing opportunity.
I should have just had you do a whole class because this is what this is going to become. So thank you so much, though. We appreciate you, Captain Hardy, for coming on in such short notice to just pour into our scholars and to really educate them on and give them some experience. And we appreciate it so much. Sorry for the rush. I wanted to be mindful of your time as well as our instructor. So we'll definitely have a round two if you're open to it. We'll definitely have a round two for it. Awesome.
Right.
Thank you all so much. Thank you guys for the questions, and thank you, Captain Hardy, for your time.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Have a great night.
You too. Bye.
Well, that was wonderful. I think it's always good to gain personal insight into specific careers. You'll always remember this night that you had an opportunity to not only meet and greet, but interview a pilot. And I think that it's great in that she's a female pilot. It's just really inspiring to just hear, you know, what really goes behind the scenes. So I want to also be mindful of time. It is 7:08. So what am I working with?
Whatever time you name, Miss Patty.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to skip a few slides. Okay. I'm going to do the icebreaker because I enjoy icebreakers. I think they are fun. I can only get to it. Okay. We're not trying to do that. Just give me a second. I'm going to stop sharing so I can get to the screen. Okay, can you guys hear it?
No.
No? You
No.
can't
Are
hear
you sharing
anything?
your Are you sharing your sound?
Probably am not. Okay.
I challenge you to guess the food by emojis. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more quizzes like this. All right, let's play quiz. Let's start with an easy one. What do you think?
Hot dog.
It's hot dog. Question 2.
Pancakes. Pancake.
Yes, that is correct.
It's pancake. Can you guess the food?
Onion rings.
Onion ring.
It's onion rings. Any idea?
Gummy bears.
Gummy bears.
Gummy bears. Question 5.
French fries.
It's
That is very true. Okay, so we are in a generation that uses emojis to communicate. Who ever uses emojis to communicate via text? Just raise your hand. I do sometimes, but I have a cheap Android phone, so I really don't. Who uses emojis when they're writing like a paper or an essay? Okay, who uses short?
Say he uses emojis on his page.
Who?
Prince.
Oh, and you get graded? You actually get a grade?
You actually get a
On
grade.
on my actual class, no. I did use it on my online class I took for Columbia University just to make it a little bit more entertaining.
Oh, I understand. So it was the context of the paper that you're writing, so you got away with it. Okay, so that's not bad. Who's ever
Yes.
used like abbreviations or like hashtag or LOL, any of that? Anyone? Did you ever get like criticized or feedback for using stuff like that? No, really?
I mean, like, not like I don't want to say old people, but old people. But like my dad, he's with the lingo, so it don't matter to me. Like,
The shade. Okay. I understand. I understand. Okay. I used to work for an English professor, and the college students used to write their papers using abbreviations and slangs. You know, they would get a letter grade removed because of that, right? So that is not professional writing. Why would you say that's not professional writing? What would you consider that? If it's not professional, it's
unprofessional.
professional. There are other words for
Unprofessional, yeah.
professional. It could be casual. It could be everyday language. It could be informal. So I'm going to show you guys just a few informal words that sometimes, oh, share my screen again. Okay. Please move out the way. Slide. All right. So some of these you guys may not consider informal writing, but it's considered informal when it comes to business writing. So you may write a paper and you may say a lot of people, or you might, instead of saying numerous, or you might say anyways as a transition rather than nevertheless, all right, or therefore, or furthermore, or moreover, or additionally, or in addition to. You might say better. You know, you may have like a letter that you're writing to, you might, you know, whether it's business or not, and you might choose to use better if it's informal, but if it's informal, you might want to say, I have some recommendations to improve your services, not to better your services. You can say better, but it's informal. That's more conversational language. So you might write a letter about a supervisor who you feel is like, you know, blocking your promotion, or, you know, basically not treating you well. So you might write, Dear so-and-so, I feel like my supervisor is blocking me from being promoted, from being recognized. You don't want to say blocking. You want to say undermining. Same thing, but more formal. So if someone, again, I'm just using supervisors, the first thing that comes up. So instead of saying, you know, or let's say you're working customer service and a client or a patient or a customer has an angry outburst, you don't want to say they blew up on me, or she all of a sudden she blew up. I don't know what happened. You want to say explode. They had an angry outburst. Okay. And again, informal, breaking down or failure or collapsing. And then instead of saying asking, I am writing to inquire about this position at your employment. Does that make sense? I cannot find you guys. Okay. Does that make sense? Oh, okay.
Yes, it makes
I
sense.
just don't hear you guys. Okay. Why is it important to use formal writing when you are meeting professionals or seeking employment for the first time? Why? Anybody? Yes. Janaea,
Yeah,
right?
it is important to use professional writing.
She said Janaya.
Janai. I'm sorry, someone just had their hands up, so I just looked at that, and then Prince started speaking. Forgive me. So let's just go with Miss Jean Baptiste. I think I'll stick to the last name. It's easier for me to say it.
Well, I was gonna say it's like distracting and you want to set off a good like impression.
Good impression. That's good. And then Prince, yes.
It is important to use professional writing because it also shows the amount. I wouldn't say tone, but just as John said, it leaves a good impression, and it also shows how professional you are, especially if you're writing like an essay for a specific field you're doing or business presentation or something around that?
Let me tell you something. This is a secret. If you don't remember anything else from today, people hire you based on how intelligent you sound and how educated you sound. Yes, Schuster is Schuster.
Wait, what did I
Junior?
Let
JR.
me.
Yeah, it's Houston.
He
Yeah,
raised.
I was gonna say that. I
I
was gonna
was
say
gonna.
that. Yeah, it's just. I was gonna say that. Like usually, in most cases, like when a person reads that your writing is like sophisticated or like formal, like you just come out as like more intelligent, like smarter, and like that can like be a big reason for why they hire you.
Right, right. Guys, you are in the age of Google. You literally can write and type what's another way of saying the informal word, and Google will tell you. Or if you notice your writing has a lot of the same conjunction, like, and I went to the store and I saw my mom and then we went and then we did and then we did and. So what you want to do is you would like to Google what's another way to say and, as well as, in addition to, along with. You understand? You wanna, you're making you're expanding your vocabulary and you're learning different ways to introduce different sentences and different experiences. Does that make sense? Okay, Rosie, is Professor Rosie still on the line? I know we got 10 minutes.
Can I answer the question because?
Yes, please.
Yes, I'm here. I just have you on mute because my son's having a meltdown. Do you need me?
No. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, no problem.
He just said meltdown. If I was writing to my boss, what would I say? My son is having a. Guys, use Google. Yes, Jean-Baptiste?
An outburst.
Yeah, you can
Dang
say
it.
outburst. Okay. Yeah,
Tantrum, yeah.
a tantrum. Yes. Okay, so back in the days, we used to have something called a thesaurus. Is that what you call it? I can't remember. But it used to be a book where you can just look up words and they'll show you synonyms and antonyms. They don't have that
A
anymore.
thesaurus? A thesaurus.
It's a Taurus, yes. Dear Lord.
Thesaurus, like TH.
Terrible, I
Just a
forgot.
dictionary. A dictionary.
Yes. But it doesn't define words. It just has the synonyms and the antonyms. That's all it has. Okay,
When
someone
I be
had.
writing essays, I be just putting synonyms of da da da.
Right, but you want to make sure the synonyms work too. So you always want to make sure you look up the definition before you just like throw in the synonym because it may not make sense. So for example, if you are trying to give, you know how Captain Hardy lists like tips on how to become a pilot. So let's say she said 3 tips on how to become a pilot. You can say the first tip is to get a high school degree. Then you can say, in addition to a high school degree, you would like it be necessary for you to pursue a bachelor's and blah, blah, blah. Or you can say, instead of in addition to, you can say, furthermore, it'd be important to advance your, it's necessary or essential to advance. Do you see? Like, these are all, I don't know why I feel like these are all words you know. These are not big words. These are all words you're familiar with, but in your memory brain, they're not in the front line of your memory brain. Does that make sense? So that's why it's important to always look it up because eventually, you know what business writing takes? It takes practice. That's all it takes. If you want to do really well in writing, especially when it comes to any type of writing, business writing takes practice and practice. Now they have templates about everything. Don't try to be super creative that you don't follow a template online. Just don't plagiarize because you don't want your employer or, you know, college app, what do you call it? The college admission person I forget what they call it, but to Google and say, wow, that's a whole template from, Columbia University website. So you just want to make sure that you are always researching, always trying to find a better way to become your better selves. Why? Because all writers, and this is something I learned from my old job, it was our motto, all writers need feedback. All writers need feedback, okay? All right, so let's move on. All right. Slideshow, I'm trying to go fast. So we have our learning objectives. It's not necessary right now. I do have a little video. I'm going to see if I can just show. It stops at 1:35, but I keep sharing and not sharing my sound. So I'm sorry, I use Teams at, whoa, I did share my sound.
There's no audio, Patty.
None?
Good morning. Good morning.
Oh, there it is.
I'm
Sorry.
excited to be your first speaker of today. By a show of hands, how many of you have heard of the phrase, it's not what you say, it's how you say it? Do you remember the person who told that to you? Tell them they lied. Repeat after me. What you say is just as important as how you say it. Your turn. What you say is just as important as how you say it. And that is called strategic communications. And strategic communications is probably the very thing you've been needing this entire time to help you get what you need out of life. See, most people stop going after the bigger things that they want in life simply because, well, they're just not getting it. But what they don't realize is that they're causing some sort of resistance in the way that they're communicating that's helping them not get what they want out of life. How many of you have been in the situation where no matter how much you talk and tell someone your viewpoint, they're just not getting it, right? No matter how much you change your approach and your delivery, they're just not understanding your viewpoint, whether that's to a family member, whether that's to your spouse, whether that's to your boss, they're just not getting it. I think we've all experienced that type of frustration.
Okay. So any feedback from that video?
Yes.
What she said,
Oh, you can go first. Sorry.
Thank you.
she said, whoever told you that is a lie. She was real for that because I always say that it's like those two components go together.
Okay. Yes. I think Prince was next, or was it?
Yes.
Okay.
I also believe what she said was true as well, because as she said before, what you say is important and is important as how you say it. I feel like that what she means by that is that some people try to use different words just to make themselves sound smarter, but your understanding and how you're trying to your understanding of it and trying to put it into the sentence should matter as well, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Yes. Jean-Baptiste? Oh, I'm sorry. Roberto, did you have your hands up, or is that the old hand from the previous?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Yes,
Yeah.
please go first.
Well, you can just like agree with her with what she said, with like the whole thing about what you say is as important as how you say it, especially because of like what she was saying, because like I think that how she was saying it along with what she was saying was like it was working. So yeah.
I understand. Yes. Janae, it's your turn.
I was gonna say, like, in like having conversation with someone, you can't just say something in like a nice tone, and like you can't say something rude in a nice tone and say something nice in like a rude tone. You know what I'm saying? Like it all ties in. Like you can't say like you look ugly today in a nice tone of voice. It still hurts. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Hello.
Because like
Actually, let's
what you
take
say
that.
is really also important, because you could speak all soft and nice and you could be cursing somebody out.
True. So how can you tell? It's called being petty. Thank you. So this is the counseling part. Now, sometimes it's not only what you say and how you say it, it is what is your goal in saying it. Some people speak just to be heard. They don't care how you feel and what your response is to them. So, for example, everyone here is a teenager. I'm assuming you have a guardian, whether it's biological, foster, adoptive, aunt, uncle, grandma. And if you are engaging in a disagreement with them, right? Some parents, some guardians, you're just gonna hear me, right? And then some of you in response, you might feel like you need to be heard as well. But the objective in communication, true strategic communication, how can I get that person to not only hear me, but understand me? And if they don't hear and understand, you're not communicating well, or you're not communicating at all. The point is not to, you're gonna hear me, and you're gonna hear what I got to say. Because, I'm being extra because that's the clients I deal with, that's the population I deal with. But you have to focus, before you communicate, you have to think, what's my goal? Is my goal to disrespect my parents? Is my goal to finally tell them where to put it? Is my goal to be heard because I am tired of hearing them? Yeah, you have to think of not only what you say, how you say it, but what's your purpose? Are you trying to resolve issues in your home? Or are you trying to cause more problems? Yes, I see a hand.
Yes. So you're basically saying that you have to understand what you're about to say before you speak it.
No, that is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is,
You're saying is where, okay, let's say like, all right, I'm fed up with somebody's treating me this way,
mhm,
but I need to think, do I still want to be friends with this person at the end of the day, or do I just want to completely get them away from me?
right. So you would be pursuing what? What's your objective?
To like
You said it. Just
uh,
one word. What's your objective? Just take that one word.
the purpose, like of
You
like
said, you want me to tell you? Friendship.
oh yeah, that.
Friendship. Yes. Jean-Baptiste. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm seeing hands, but I think people are just scratching their faces. So I'm sorry. Jean-Baptiste.
I was gonna say like to kind of like explain what you were saying some more. That you're talking to someone, right? You could be yelling, like you guys could be yelling back and forth, but that's like out of anger. Maybe you guys sat down to have a conversation where so you guys could understand each other and really comprehend what they were saying. I feel like it would be like I don't know where I was going to that. I mean, like, give me a sec.
That's okay. And you know what? For both Prince and Jean-Baptiste, I'm going to give you guys 2 tips, then we're going to end because it's 7:31. For Prince, when I said that is not what I'm saying, what you have to begin doing as a strategic communicator, especially if you guys want to be these, I believe everyone here wants to own their own business, entrepreneurs. You say, can you please repeat yourself? I misunderstood you. Okay, can you say that again? That's what you do. You don't have to shut down. You don't have to feel like, oh man, can you repeat yourself? And then for Jean-Baptiste, I think it was good that you said, you know what, I need a moment because I'm not even sure if I gathered my thought, rather than saying something that you regret later. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to say like if they had sat down and talked about it, they would have resolved the issues than created more like you were talking about. Because some
Sometimes in
people
life
just
you
like
don't sit down and talk issues. So
mhm.
what would you do if the person doesn't want to sit down and talk to you?
You don't be friends with them no more.
No, I'm not talking about the person's reaction. I'm talking about how you approach people. meaning everyone, us, not just you, how you approach people and what's your goal. If you want to be friends with someone, you'll do, I see people all day, every day, maintaining toxic relationships because it's a preference, not because of purpose. That's it. Like, oh, I like her because she got nice sneakers. Not purpose. That's preference. Okay, so I'm going to give Rosie the floor. All right. Professor Rosie, you can have the floor. It's 7:33. I don't know.
Oh, no, you could go a little bit longer. I didn't know if you wanted to go into any more of
Okay,
the
I do.
presentation.
I just don't want to
Okay.
take away.
Nope. Go ahead,
and-
because whatever I don't get through tonight, we're gonna get through tomorrow in the office hour.
Okay, anyone else? Any questions? Any concerns?
Oh no, I just wanted to let all the professors know in advance, because I don't want them to forget. I let them know last week, but I'm not gonna be here on Thursday, so just to let y'all know.
Okay. So for business school, we had to come up with our own business plan. And your business plan, you had to write your goals and your objective for that plan. And if I did not communicate clearly, it was sent back to me over and over about, I'm not exaggerating, at least 10 to 12 times. I had to rewrite it and rewrite and rewrite. The total was 75 pages, okay? Because I was not communicating as clearly as I wanted to or thought I was. So I'm gonna show you guys, I shared this in the previous session. Most of the strategic communicator who I demonstrated her TED talk, she said, sometimes we don't get things in life because we don't know how to communicate or ask for it, right? And sometimes that may be cultural. You're raised up in a culture where like children don't talk. That's it, okay? You just listen, all right? So, well, I guess I should share the story first. So, well, I went to Virginia to visit my sister about 2 years ago, and the platform, so I'm from New York originally. Okay, I just have to leave at 7:40. I had a client reschedule. I am so sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine. That's absolutely fine.
Okay,
I just didn't want you to feel like you had to rush.
Right, but yes, okay, thank you. I'll try to push, maybe I'll log in the other computer. But I went to visit my sister in Virginia, and she told me to take the Amtrak. There was a miscommunication with my sister and I first. So she's like, yeah, just take, I'm sorry, she's younger than me. I shouldn't do that. That's so terrible. Take the Amtrak from New York to Virginia. And I'm like, okay. But she didn't give me instructions afterwards. She was like, yeah, just call a Lyft and they'll pick you up. Okay. I have 2 suitcases. Like, I have a carry-on and I have a check-in bag. I have a backpack and I think I have a snack bag. So everyone gets out. I see everyone walking swiftly to the exit. And I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, okay. I'm trying to figure out how am I going to juggle all these bags. Eventually, I figure out how to roll all my bags. And I'm like, amazed. I get to the door. It's locked. I'm locked. Left alone on the platform. It is like evening and it looks like a scene out of a scary movie. 2 dim lights off at the end of the platform, and I'm like, oh my God. So I call my sister and she's like, just yell and that and bang on the door. Long story short, I call the police because I can't get out of the station. I call the police. Security eventually comes. Security didn't come, police came. I had to write a letter to Amtrak about their security issue. I had to make a decision whether that was important to me or not. I had to make a decision whether, okay, that's trivial or not. I had to make a decision as a woman of color, right? And as a woman, I had to address some safety concerns because that was unacceptable and, quite frankly, unprofessional since I am a customer. So I had to write them a letter, but I had to write a letter so that they can hear my grievance because I was asking for full compensation of my train ride. So this is a part of the letter that you guys see right here. So this was like right after the pandemic. And if you see, like in the beginning, I began with a story due to the pandemic and the loss of my residence. I'm in transition from one place to the other. So I said I traveled from New York to Virginia. And then I told them I left early. And then with that being said, I arrived at my destination safely. And I talked about how I received excellent service, because whenever you're writing a grievance letter, if there's anything that was done well, you want to say that, okay? Letter or email or memo, those are all business types of communication, professional communication, a memo, email, sometimes depending on who you're writing. And even, to be honest, Instagram, if you're reaching out to a professional company on Instagram, you want to make sure that your letter is, that your communication is written well. So I said, as I took my bags, a mass disappearing before me. However, I wasn't alarmed. And then I talked about my fear. Now, this is a lengthy letter, but I explained how I was traumatized. I was blindsided and I felt unsafe, right? And I I put my weight, it's a little extra. It's dramatic. My sister, who is a Harvard grad, when she looked at my letter, she's like, oh, it's not that serious. Just put a paragraph. But one of the things I had to realize is when growing up, I'm Haitian American. I'm assuming Pierre and Jean-Baptiste might be as well, right? Are you guys? Because of your last names? Okay.
Yeah, I'm Haitian.
Okay. So growing up in a Haitian American home, and I'm sure some people on the call may identify with this, we weren't allowed to have a voice. Children are just seen, they're not heard, right? So I had to learn how to find my voice throughout the years. When you write, you are communicating your voice. When you write professionally, you're communicating what needs to be said. Long story short, I submitted that letter and I got full compensation. Full compensation. So that was a free ride. And then I had, another free ride for a later trip. However, had I not deemed it important to write my story and to write professionally, they may have compensated me, but I'm not sure if it would have been a full compensation, because it's not only about what you say and how you say it, but I had a goal. And my objective was, I'm going to get a full refund. Does that make sense? Okay, well, that's that. That's all. That's all I got. It's 7:41. Thank you, Professor Rosie, for the invitation, and everyone else in the background, Professor JR, and I think I saw Professor G. And thank you for this opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Professor Patty, for that presentation.
You're welcome.
I always enjoy when you teach. I love the calm of your voice and the soothing. It just makes everyone feel so at ease, and like all is well with the world. So thank you for that. I appreciate that, especially with the day that I've had. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. I know this was, earlier was a little bit impromptu, so
oh, it's okay. I could have listened to that captain all day. She was
yeah, I was like, it's not every day that get to hear from a United States Air Force pilot, so sometimes we have to do that and just kind of be in the moment. But thank you so much for your presentation. Would you mind if we shared that information? I don't know if it's in the Google Classroom already.
No, because I made some corrections today.
Okay.
I'm just making corrections.
Okay, so you would or you wouldn't mind?
No, I wouldn't mind. I would not mind.
Okay, awesome.
Not mind communicating clearly.
All right, yeah. See, I'm trying to be clear. I want to make sure I understand what's being conveyed.
Yes.
So if you wouldn't mind emailing that to me, then I can send that, or myself or Professor Latoya can send that out to the rest of the class.
Okay, yes,
All
not a
right.
problem. Okay,
Yeah, thank you so much. We appreciate
Okay.
your help.
okay,
and
you're welcome. All
Have a
right.
great evening.
Okay, you as well. All righty.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to break. It is 7:42. We will come back. If you all have forgotten, this class actually goes to 8:30 tonight. All right, so we have the resume portion of the class. I know, look at the eyes, look at the eyes. That means you guys did not read your emails or look at the schedule. So this is the only class, because it is a two-part series or a two-part class, where it is extended for a half hour. And then unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but whatever we don't get through today, we'll wrap it up tomorrow in the office hour, which is required. Tomorrow's session is required for all scholars. Okay. It is our last office hour for, yes, it is. It's required for tomorrow. I sent out a message about that last week. That it is required for tomorrow because it is our last office hour, and Thursday will be our last class before presentations. All right, so yes, Marilyn.
Well, tomorrow, like every Wednesday, I have my therapy at the exact same time that we do the office hours.
Okay.
So
I mean, if you can't make it, it will, if you can at least watch the video and the recording, because it's going to be some important information in there for you, for the resume that you all will have to have for the end of the series. Okay. So just for that, but let's come back. We'll come back in about 10 minutes. And then if any questions you guys have, we'll address them then. If you want to stay back and just ask your questions during the 10-minute break, we can. Janaya, did you have any questions? Did you want to ask?
Well, I was gonna say, since I did my guided research project on Hampton, should I do a presentation on Hampton too?
Yes. Yep. You're gonna follow whatever you worked on in the first series. You're just gonna
Okay.
do like a 2-3 slide show
Like
presentation.
in a PowerPoint?
Yep.
Okay.
And everybody is to have a resume as well. That's why it's important to stay for the class tonight. And then whatever we don't finish up tonight, we'll wrap up tomorrow. And then the rest of the time will be for you all to work on your projects. All right. So we'll be back at 7:54, sorry. And let me make sure everybody's on. All right, good evening, everyone. We are going to get right into the next part of our class. But before we do, I just want to make sure or to see whether or not anyone has any questions. I do feel like there was some, important information that we didn't really get through with Professor Patty, just due to the timing. She had a session for work that she had to get to. So that's the reason for the swift exit. But her presentation is filled with great information that I think would be advantageous for you all. I know would be advantageous for you all to review and just make sure that you, if you have any questions, for sure, definitely just reach out and, we can talk through it. All right. Does anyone have any questions before I get started? And does anyone have any questions about anything that was covered from or by Ms. Patty? Anything about the business writing or just communicating what you want to relay to an individual or your audience? Any questions? All right, so we're going to get right into the next topic, which is resume writing. Now, or resume building, okay? Your professional bragging rights. Now, some of you may have seen in the emails that we send out. Bring all you've got, right? This resume, or what we'll be talking about today, is your professional bragging rights and how you will bring that to the forefront so that employers will want to know more about you. They want to meet you, right? Because your resume precedes you. Your resume is what the employers see before they get to meet you, right? So when you're applying for a job, when you're applying for any type of position, even when we talked to Captain Hardy, and Captain Hardy mentioned how rigorous of a process it was for her going from enlisted to one, being an officer and then becoming a pilot. She had to have a resume, and her resume had to basically sell her, right? So it had to essentially sell her and prove that she was worth the investment, right? Because you're considered an investment to companies, to corporations, to organizations. When they hire you, that's considered an investment, whether a good investment or a bad investment, that's yet to be told. But your resume, that's why we say it precedes you, because your resume is what they're going to go off of. And so that is what's going to then help it turn into, or that opportunity turn into, an actual interview, right? And then from that interview, then you learn your fate, whether or not you're hired for that position. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. All right, so here are the objectives for this evening. I'm going to try to get through this really, swiftly, but obviously if there are any questions, I'm going to ask that you unmute yourselves, because I can't see the chat the way that my screen is. The box where your faces are is pretty small, so that I don't block my screen. So if you have any questions, I'll hover over the top of my screen every now and then to see, but just unmute yourself, okay? But upon completion of this segment, scholars will be able to create a practical resume that you can use for jobs, internships, and scholarships, right? You're going to employ best practices when putting your resume together, and you're going to identify errors and avoid making them, okay? So we're going to get started. I just like to let this play out because all the cool animations and stuff, even though these letters are supposed to move. All right, so in your own words, can someone tell me what they think? And I already showed you my page, so you're going to cheat, but in your own words, without looking at this page right here, if you could tell me what you think a resume is.
I think a resume is
Uh,
Go ahead,
you can go
Marilyn.
first.
I think a resume is like a document, obviously, that tells you about who the person is and what professions they have already been in, and what things they are good at, like their skills, and like other jobs they've done and stuff like that.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. You hit it right on the head, the nail right on the head. Marilena. Go ahead, Prince.
I think a resume is a brief presentation on someone's personal and I wouldn't say personal and work life and experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So all of the above, everything you all just said, that is exactly what a resume is, right? So it's a summation, but the best type of summation, right? So you can't put everything, all your skills, in 1 to 2 pages, right? But you could do a really, really good job of summarizing all of your expertise and your professional or your academic background, your skills and your accomplishments, right? This is your time to brag. Bring all little y rather, you've got. And that's what, for me, that's what came to mind when I think of bragging, right? That's the time where you want to highlight every skill that is relevant, and we'll get into that, but you want to make sure that you're highlighting every skill that's relevant to whatever position or job you're going for, right? You want to use, or it's used rather, to secure employment in industries, and we talked about that. You may also hear it referred to as a CV. That's more in academia settings, or when you're talking about research and things of that nature. You have professors, they may refer to it as a CV. That is a much more in-depth, almost like a bio type, a curriculum vitae, right? Where vitae, I could never pronounce that right. We call it a CV. right? But that is a more extensive overview of what someone's credentials are. And that's based on, you know, all of their work that they've done, especially when you're thinking of scientists, you're thinking of professors, you're thinking of all the work they've done or accomplished. You know, a lot of them have, you know, papers they've written, articles that they've written or been a part of. So, you know, it really just depends on, you know, what you want to highlight, what you want to bring to the forefront. Hold on 1 second. All right, so good standard practice for resume writing. All right, just a couple of things for you all to note here, and this will be shared with you all as well, right? You want to make sure that your resume is typed. You want to make sure that it's neat and error-free. No less than one, obviously no more than 2 pages, right? Obviously 1 is good practice, 2 is good to have, no more than 2, right? Once you get beyond 2, you're kind of losing your audience, which would be, you know, the hiring professionals. And so you want to keep it at most 2 pages long. Proper format, and we'll talk about that. Active voice, right? Tell us what you do. Okay, and tell us how, you know, the impact that it's had, right? You want to be honest. You don't want to fluff, right? They know fluff when they see it. You want to be honest and you want to be clear and concise. Okay. Again, just some of the things that we've already touched upon, right? Highlighting your education and credentials, including your relevant experience. Why do I keep stressing the word relevant? Can anybody tell me why? And we're going to get into it, but just, you know, before we get to that slide, can anyone tell me why relevancy is so important when it comes to writing a resume for a particular job?
Relevant is so I'm speaking, or
Go
okay,
ahead,
I'll
Prince.
continue. Relevance is important, specifically for a job, because you want to highlight like your biggest accomplishment and not use small accomplishment as filler, if that makes sense.
Okay,
You know,
right.
you want to focus.
Go ahead.
You want to focus on your key attributes.
Right, but you may have a lot of key attributes. When I say relevant, though, what does that mean as it pertains to, let's just say I'm looking for a job with Microsoft, and I've only ever worked at McDonald's. I've only ever worked at, you know, at the car wash down the street. What does it mean when I say your relevance, right? You want to make sure that it's whatever whatever job you're going for, your resume has to be relevant to the position you're applying for. Jada, I saw your hand go up.
Relevant experience is important for like a specific job because it shows you have experience in that field.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Yes, I saw a couple other hands go up. You can go on and unmute. I can't see who those hands are. I just saw Jada's
Yeah,
hand.
so I'd say that it's important to keep it relevant because if you're going from Microsoft and you're talking about how you like did a cashier, like it just wouldn't make sense. Like they would not hire you for that. But if you
Right.
said like you manage like some technology stuff, that would be like it'd be more relevant. So yeah.
There you go. Absolutely. And
I think
I like how you use that analogy too. Go ahead, Marilena.
I think like one thing like I feel like everybody was saying like general stuff, but like I feel like also like little stuff can probably help. Like let's say like, oh, you want to work like you said for Microsoft. You're like, I tend to always help my family around with the internet because they don't understand how to work that. Or let's say you want to work I don't know, like a teacher's assistant. You're gonna be like, oh, I take care of kids and I tutor kids at after school or something like that, you know? Like things that you do are gonna help you along the way, even like the little things.
I agree with what Mary Elena said, because like it doesn't necessarily have to be like in that field specifically, but it's like just you having experience. Okay, wait, not like totally off, like in a whole different field, but for example, like I do police academy, and that I feel like is a good like thing. It'll look good on like anything, like in colleges and in like getting into good jobs, you know, especially in like the state police that is strict and intense, you know.
Yes. So let me ask you a question. We had Captain Hardy on this evening, right? How did you all enjoy that? You enjoyed that, right?
Yeah,
You
it
got
was
to
really
meet a United States Air Force pilot. Listen, I'm proud of that. I don't know about you, but I'm very proud to be able to say that our scholars got to meet firsthand pilot. You know, she's fought for our country, right? That's amazing. What do you think though? Why do you think I brought her onto our class? What relevance does it have in the sort of in the broader scope of things when you're thinking about this program, when you're thinking about her and what she does? Why do you think I felt it was relevant for her to be here tonight?
I think it was relevant because number one, Janaya, she did talk about her goals, like when the class first started. So I feel like you brought like your students' interest like first, but I also think that it all helped us all because we seen when she talked us through her um being a pilot, like learning to be a pilot when she did not want to be a pilot. I feel like that kind of opened our eyes to new possibilities.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what did she say? Does anyone remember what she said about how she felt when she first started? And I think
yeah,
that
she
all of
said
us can
She
relate to
Yeah,
said
that, right?
she never saw herself in, she never saw herself being interested in it.
Right, right. So there's that relevance there. Like I wanted her to come on and I wanted her to show you guys that anything is possible. She went from being a civilian to going into finance with the Air Force to then becoming a pilot in the Air Force. She flies big old planes now, y'all. If you see these planes, they're huge. And she's very little. She's shorter than I am, you know? So just to see that and to know that there's that relevance there. So I'm kind of putting all that into perspective, right? Because I wanted you, it's important for you all to know when you're, even when filling out these resumes, right? There has to be some sort of relevance there. There has to be something there that attracts the interest of the person sitting on the other side of that desk, right? Those individuals who are considering you as a potential candidate. What is it that you have that makes you or sets you apart from others, right? You have to pique their interest. And so that's why I say that with the relevance. And then, you know, showcasing your skills, again, all of that is relevant. Listing accomplishments based on what you're looking to go into. Tailoring that resume, right? Tailoring is the same as, you know, just making sure that it's relevant, making sure that it fits that particular job. All right. Consider the format, use examples, and proofread. Okay. Can someone, I hear background, if you guys can mute your computers.
Mary Elena.
Mary Elena.
Sorry.
It's okay. All right, so consider a template. We're going to go through a couple of templates just as examples so you can kind of see, compare and contrast. Some, you know, you can kind of identify the good resumes from the not so good resumes. I don't want to call them bad resumes, but the, you know, the acceptable ones from the not so acceptable ones. But it's okay, absolutely okay, especially in the technological era that we live in right now. It's absolutely okay to use a template, right? There are so many free softwares and templates out there for you all to use at your disposal, that it almost would, you know, it would hurt. I don't want to say hurt you, but, you know, behoove you not to, right? You would want to make sure that you are maximizing on all of the resources that you have at your disposal, right? So it does help you organize and it helps you prioritize and decide where and how you want to structure your resume, okay? How long should your resume be? And we talked about that, but what did we say? How long should your resume be?
no more than 2
one.
pages.
Right. One, no more than 2 pages, at least one, and no more than 2 pages, right? What is the point of that though? What did I say? What's the reason for that?
Not to lose your reviewer.
You don't want to lose your reviewer, right? How many of you can sit and let me tell you something about, what is it, TikTok? I think TikTok has what, a 90-second max that you can record a video, and then like you can't record anymore after that. Do you know why that is? Does anyone know
It's 10
why?
minutes now.
Is it, huh?
It's 10 minutes now. Like you could have 10-minute long TikToks.
TikTok is 10 minutes since when?
Since now.
Really? Okay, you didn't school me on something because I didn't know that. But anyway, so whether it's a reel, no, maybe it's the reel that's 90 seconds. Maybe it's the reel. Anyway, there's all these social media platforms and stuff, and these other softwares and stuff out there. There are a lot of, we'll talk about the reels. So I believe the last reel I made, it couldn't be any more than 90 seconds. And there's a reason for that, right? Even when you're trying to appeal to someone on social media, if you have too much content, too much words, right, and you don't have any substance, there's nothing else that kind of helps to support that, to offset all of those words, you're going to lose your audience, right? Nobody likes to read anymore. Unfortunately, that's the day and age that we live in. Not everybody likes to read, but they love to watch videos. They love to, to look at photos and stuff. So it's intentional, when they have a required shortened time, there's a reason behind that. And it's the same thing, with your resume, right? It's intentional. You don't want to lose your audience. And remember the triple S rule. If you ever forget, remember the triple S. You have about 7 solid seconds to wow them. So in the first 7 seconds of your resume, you want to make sure that you're giving them the goods. Okay. All right. Who do we have? It looks like we have Janaya loves reading. And that's awesome, Janaya. I do too. I really do. But when you're on social media and you see somebody's post is like 2-3 pages long, unless you're really interested in hearing what they have to say, unfortunately, that's not everybody's story, right?
No,
Yeah, does somebody have a question or comment?
I was gonna say the librarian at my school, she had ordered me like 5 books, like because she knows I love reading, and like she knows, obviously my interest in being a pilot. And she ordered me like a few, like 5, I think like 5 books, because the library didn't have any.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And that's also going, to show how she went above and beyond to meet your interests. Just as I love how Mary Elena said that earlier today, right? We get to hear from you all, and then we really try to help to meet those interests. So that's awesome. All right. And you want to list your achievements, not your responsibilities. What do I mean by that? Can someone give me an example of listing your achievements versus, or over rather, your responsibilities?
Let's say your school tells you, oh, you need to do like 6 hours of volunteer work. That's like, now you have to do it because it's required. But if you were like, oh, I want to do 6 hours of volunteer work because I feel like it would look good on my resume.
But it's all in how you say it too, right? We talked about that in the business writing portion with Professor Patty. It is what you say, and it is also how you say it, right? How are you going to sell that you are the best patty flipper? And when we say patty, we're talking like burger patties or something in Burger King, right? Instead of saying I flip burgers at Burger King, why don't you spin it and say, I was named top employer for flipping 20 burgers in 10 seconds, right? You want to list your achievements. What did you achieve? Not the fact that you were a burger flipper, but what did you achieve and what did you accomplish as a result of being the best burger flipper in the East Coast? You know what I mean? Like you got to sell it to them like that. Huh?
SpongeBob.
There you go. SpongeBob. Yes. All right. So how does or did your work impact the organization's goals or mission? And again, don't be afraid to brag. All right. So make sure you update your resume often. Why do you want to update your resume often? Right here, it says your resume grows with you, your resume precedes you. We talked about that earlier today, but why do you want why do you want to update your resume often? Why should you rather?
Because
So you can
you're
show all your achievements.
Yeah.
because through life you're constantly growing and collecting and experiencing new information, and some of those can be very important to add into your resume.
Absolutely, Prince. Absolutely. Yes. And it says it right here, the first bullet. Your resume grows with you, right? So as you're growing, as you're learning, as you're experiencing, as you guys are learning all of the information that you're retaining during this course, you're going to be able to take the information that you've learned during this course, and you're going to be able to add this to your resume. This is now an official bullet on your resume. S.O.A.R Hospitality and Travel. I was a student or an intern, or however you want to phrase it, a student with S.O.A.R Hospitality and Travel. I was able to learn A, B, and C, or whatever the case may be, and what impact it had on you. right? So as you continue growing, so will your resume, okay? And you want to customize your resume. We talked about this already. You don't want to use the same resume for every job because every job is different, or every position or whatever it is that you're going for. You may not be looking for the same exact job every single time, right? So you want to make sure that you tailor your resume to fit what you're applying for. And then you also want to prove why you. Why should they choose you over, why should they choose me over Prince? What qualifies me and puts me in a better position to do a better job in the position that I'm going for than Prince would? So that's where I would highlight my skills, my qualities and experiences and so on. Okay. Is everyone getting that? Any questions so far? All right. And I would implore you to ask the questions, or, you know, you all are doing phenomenal by asking the questions and answering as well. But this is all the information you're going to have to know for your own resumes that are due at the end of the series, by the way. Okay. Use keywords, avoid buzzwords. What are buzzwords? Give me an example of a buzzword.
Like boom, pow, fluff.
Yes. Is that a buzzword? What's boom, cow, fluff? What is that?
I think I feel like buzzwords are like words that don't catch your interest, like we were talking earlier, like
Is it like boring, like
instead
when
of,
something's
Hold on one second. Go ahead,
instead
Marilena.
of like, you know how earlier Professor Jean Baptiste, she was like, she said that instead of using this word, you should use this word.
Yeah, so you don't want to use filler words, right? You don't want to use fluff words. You don't want to use big and over exaggerated words, right? Just stick to the points. Use the keywords. And the keywords really, it says here, roughly 90% of Fortune 500 companies use applicant tracking systems, also known as ATS, to screen resumes. So basically what happens is when recruiters receive your resume, so let's just say you go on Indeed and you apply for a position, you apply for a job that's been posted, you submit your resume. Your resume goes into a pool with everybody else's. And the resume that gets pulled out is that resume that has the most keywords that align with this particular system right here, right? That system is going to pick up all the keywords based on what the organization or the company is looking for. So you want to make sure that you're using keywords and to avoid all other fluffers, okay? Or cliches, if you will. All right, we have some comments in the chat box. Isn't she a professor? Yes, we call all of our instructors professors, whether they are officially or not.
No, I was talking about how she said Professor Jean Baptiste, and that wasn't.
Wait.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
I
got
Professor
confused.
Patty. No, it's okay. It's okay. All right, so moving right along. Here we go. So we're gonna play a little video for you all, because this is some of what Professor, and it actually segues us right into this perfectly, because she talked about acronyms, right? She talked about emojis and different things that you all use in this day and age to communicate with each other, right? Everything is an acronym. OMG, everything is an acronym. And sometimes you guys can hold on a whole conversation in just acronyms. And so this is just a funny haha brief video. If it plays, hopefully it plays. Let's see. I don't know if you guys can still see my screen. Can you see it? Can you see it?
Yes.
Can you hear it?
We can't hear it, but we can see
I don't hear it.
Okay, hold on one second. I got to share my sound. I think that's the issue Professor Patty was having too. Share computer sound. All right, let's see if we can do this now. Hold on.
PTI, I need the PDF.
Can you hear it?
Yes.
Okay.
COB, aka EOD. What's the ETA?
ASAP, FYI.
LMK. HBD Gordon. HBDY.
Oh, well, look at this GIF. It's GIF, FWIW.
ROTFL.
You see my IM?
TLDR.
What?
Too long. Didn't read.
Okay.
We don't need any more acronyms, but we could all use more ways to save.
DMX, YOLO!
Switch to Geico for more ways to save.
SMH. ROFL did this video? Share with your BFFs. And BTW, don't get FOMO. There's more great Geico content. So hit subscribe.
All right. So that was just a funny way of saying keep it simple. You know, keep it directed to the point. No fillers, no acronyms, no emojis. I think I heard Prince say earlier today that he uses emojis in his written work as well. Is that what I heard earlier?
Samuel too. Samuel uses emojis.
And Samuel too in your written
How did
work.
you not get a zero?
I don't even know how you did it.
Nah, I'm just playing.
Literally, like my English teacher would have torn me up. She would have been like, "Nah, if I'm not great in this. I'm not great in this. You just gonna have to get a zero."
Right. So just be mindful of that, right? No time for jargon. Spell out your abbreviations, no acronyms. So when you all are writing your resumes, make sure that you're spelling out your words and grammar, spell check. Make sure you're spelling it out correctly, okay? Avoid using special characters or again, emojis, and use standard headings like education, professional, and experience. Those are the three most common headings that you're going to see on a resume. You want to, you know, the reviewers, right? The companies, they want to know, are you educated? You know, what kind of background do you have education wise? What's your profession? And what experience do you have? All right. And then placement. So this is really important for you all to know. And when you're looking for, let's just say you're going to be doing your resumes, and some of you, I know I've received Roberto's resume and it's very impressive, right? You want to make sure though that you're putting your information in the correct places. So it could very well be you all are in high school. So it may not be that you have had any real work experience. So you want to know how or where to place the information on your resume, right? So if you're fresh out of college with no real work experience, you want to make sure that you place your education and all of your academic achievements towards the top of the resume. All right. And then I'll show you an example of that. And then after being in the workforce for about a year, you can move that down and you would replace it with your education, or rather your professional experience. Okay. And then your education would go towards the bottom. Are there any questions about that?
I have a question.
Sure.
Where do we send the resumes to?
You're going to send them to the info@letsoarnj.org or the contact@letsoar. So either one of those emails.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So this is an example of what I was saying. So this is a graduate, a student, right? Doesn't have too much experience, work experience anyway. A lot of what she did, you know, it's not a whole lot, or doesn't appear to be. Maybe some of this is like volunteer work, whatever. So this is how it would appear. Now, this is a little bit old school, if you ask me. There are definitely a bunch of different versions out there that you all can, you know, peruse through to find the one that fits you and your personality, right? It is all about your personality too. They have resumes for all, or templates for all of that now. You can also use a LinkedIn profile page or professional profile page. On your LinkedIn, you know, if you have a professional profile page, you can upload your resume there. You might gain a lot more traction on LinkedIn as well, right? Because people are always looking for employees. You know, people are always looking for workers, right? And one of the main places that people tend to navigate to is LinkedIn, right? Because that's where a lot of the networking and a lot of the connections are built, is through LinkedIn. Does anyone have a LinkedIn account?
I do.
Oh, interesting. And do you have your resume uploaded there?
My resume, not yet. I will.
Okay.
I keep changing my resume, so I don't want to add one just for me to change my mind and then edit and then have to re-upload it again.
And that's fine. And that's understood that if it happens, it's absolutely okay, right? Because we talked about that. Because it may happen where you've gained some new experience. And so now you want to add that to the resume. So it's okay if you take that resume down and you upload it with a new and fresh resume, right? All right, we talked about that. Spelling and grammar errors. All right. Prof ready. Oops, did you catch that? Proofread. Make sure you proofread. And have someone else with this fresh set of eyes look over your resume
I'm
to make sure
crying.
that
I
they
read spelled wrong.
He said prof ready. I'm like,
I want to make sure you guys caught that. Proofread, and that's there you go. The proof is in the pudding. We want to make sure that you're always proofreading. Always, always, always check grammar, spelling, whatever it is. Make sure you check it. There's places like, what is it, Grammarly. You know, there are softwares out there that can help you do that, where all you have to do is plug in your resume and it'll help to filter out those words and maybe even provide you with alternate or alternative words, or a word that might sound better or might read better than the word that you selected. And remember, Professor Patty talked about that today. So instead of using this word, maybe use that word, right? All right, would you hire me? So this is a little back, and we're going to do a little bit of comparing and contrasting here, right? So let's take a quick look at a couple of resumes and then you'll tell me what you think. Okay, now we have and I wish this is the only thing I didn't like about this, the examples that obviously you already know right off the bat which one is right and which one is wrong. But tell me, just by looking at these resumes, comparing them side by side, tell me why this one to the left of us is wrong and this one to the right of us is correct. Go ahead, Roberto.
Well, the one on the right is just much more engaging. It's like much more organized. Everything just looks pretty. But the one on the left is just like words and gray lines and just like everything is just like bad. So yeah.
Okay, so aesthetically, you're kind of looking at the look and the feel of it, right? What about the structure? Remember, we talked about how it should be organized. So what can you tell me about the structure or the organization of the resume?
The structure. Oh, sorry, you can go first.
I was gonna say, I feel like the left one is organized a little better because it has like the different sections, and then the one on the left, like I just feel like it's organized a bit better.
Okay. Okay. So that then, and Jada, that is you're absolutely entitled to feel in that way. That's not to say just because this example says it's wrong, that's not to say that that's the end all be all, right? You might think that the left side of the sample, or the resume looks fine. For me, what sticks out is, you have your summary and then you have academic details, which is not a whole lot. Formatting for me, I'm big on formatting. Don't really care for the way that it's formatted. Your certifications, and then you have your work experience, right? What did we say about if you have work experience, where should that be?
top.
At the top, right? If you have that work experience, that should be at the top. Your skills should actually be a part of your summary. And so when you're summarizing what you're capable of, what you can do, I think it should either be a part of your summary or like a summation, or maybe even separate it out a little bit better. So the way that on the right hand side, how it's separated out to the, and then it kind of even breaks it down even further. I kind of like that better. I just like the structure and the organization of that. All right, so let's keep moving forward just because we are we're getting close to the time here. What about this one?
It looked like the person wrote their whole life story on that side.
It looks like an essay.
Yeah, it does.
What about organization? What about the, the structure, the bullets? Like, look at the bullet points. What can you tell me about the bullet points? So look at the
You're talking
left
about the
one.
one on the right?
Yeah, you see how
I think about
it's
the one on
all
the left.
aligned differently, and then so remember, formatting is everything. And you'll throw somebody off in a minute when you looking, okay, this bullet's here, that bullet's there. Like, you want to make sure your formatting and everything is on point. Okay, you want to make sure that you're using the correct font, right? The correct size font, the correct, whether it's Times New Roman. I think there's like certain standard fonts that you can use for a resume. Times New Roman is one, I believe. Curry, I don't know, I don't think it's Courier. It's it starts with the A. I forget Arial's one, right? And then you can use between a 10 and I believe a font 12. I think those are the standard sizes, right? So you want to make sure also that you're sticking to that as well when you're building your resumes. Again, this is all in preparation for what you all are about to do or continue doing with your resumes if you already have one structured, okay? Oh my gosh, are we done? Look at that. And what time is it? 8:31. We only went over 1 minute. Yes. So what we're going to do for tomorrow, we're going to actually go through building a draft resume. And we're going to do this as a group though. Okay, so tomorrow for the first half of the class, we're actually going to participate, or I'm going to have you guys participate in separate groups. So we're going to do like the breakout rooms, and I'm going to have you all come together. You're going to brainstorm, and you're going to put your skills, the best, you know, who has what skills, and I'll give you an outline. So I'll send it out to you probably between tonight and tomorrow, so you all know exactly what I'm looking for. But you're going to combine efforts, okay? And you're going to work together, and you're going to put together a resume. And I want you to be prepared for this, okay? And we're going to put you all in maybe two groups. All right. And then you're going to combine efforts. You're going to put all your skills and all of your expertise and all of you're going to figure out how to put it, how to structure it, but you're going to do it as a collective effort. Okay. Are there any questions for me? Here are some resources, additional resources. Like I mentioned, Grammarly is a great resource for you all if you want to use it for spell check, for grammar, to make sure that, you know, your bullets are in the proper places. And then also there are a lot of templates out there. I believe I have some templates in these links as well. I'm going to share this presentation with you all so that you all have it and you can go back to it and refer to it as you're putting your resumes together. Okay. Mary Elena, did you have a question?
No, it was my hand up from before. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. 100% recommend Grammarly. Absolutely, Prince. I agree. I agree with you.
I feel like Grammarly is okay because I feel like it like fixes some of like my writing mistakes, but like they always try to make you pay for the premium. Like
oh, yeah.
I'm not paying for that. Sorry.
Yeah, Grammarly, like it ain't all that for real.
Yeah.
So there are other softwares out there. There's one that has hit the streets, and I don't know if you guys have heard of it. I don't even know if me telling you is going to be against any sort of school policies or procedures, but knowing you probably have. Has anyone ever heard of Chat GPT?
No.
All right.
I've heard of that like recently. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, I use it, and I use AI.
Yeah. So.
Oh yeah, I was gonna mention that earlier when the other lady was speaking, like because I heard about the AI. Yeah, it's like crazy.
It's insane, but you have to be careful though, right? Because now that everybody's aware of its capabilities, right? You want to make sure that the work that you're doing is still yours, right? So you can use Chat GPT to help you better structure or formulate your work, but you also want to make sure that it is still your work, because the teachers are prepared for you all to be educated and abreast of these softwares that are coming about, and so they want to make sure that it sounds like you, right? So you want to just use it as a tool, to like a reference tool, to be able to plug in your work and say, okay, make this sound better, or check for grammar, check for errors, check for periods instead of commas, and whatever the case may be. Yes, course evaluation. Thank you, Miss T. All right, so we're gonna go through. I'm gonna ask you before you drop off the line to go on and put or complete the course evaluation. All right, and then just let me know really quickly, like, what did you think of having Captain Hardy on, or having someone else join the class just to kind of share their experience and their knowledge with you? Did you guys like that?
I liked when Captain Hardy came on. I really enjoyed that. I feel like you should have that more often. Not like to go up schedule, but like I really like that. And I had a lot more questions to ask, and then it was only 15.
We only had a certain amount of time. So, and she was like so impressed with you all, with all the questions and how inquisitive you were. Yeah, send them to me. I told you, and she's already asking.
Not those.
No, yeah, she's got the
Yeah.
list. I knew you would. I told her, I was like, listen, we got a couple of them in there. They're very inquisitive. So, and I love it. I love that about you guys. You all are rock stars when it comes to asking questions. If you don't know something, you want, you want clarification. That's awesome. But we also had to be mindful of Professor Patty's time as well as the time that we allotted for Captain Hardy. So she is happy to come back. But I wanted to make sure that we got that opportunity before you all, and before we end this series. Right. But I'm glad that you all liked it, because that just, that helps us to know what we can enhance on for the next series. All
I
right.
also like how
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah. Go ahead, Marilena, and then Janaya.
Okay, I like how Miss Patty, she like was talking about how like our tone should be, or like how kind of just like go through life. Like I remember in one of the sessions, not sessions, but one of the classes with Miss C, like when she would talk about like how we should carry ourselves and how that would make us look. So I feel like when that is in classes, I feel like it is very helpful, because normally in school, like what you learn is like the class, and you don't really learn how to do certain stuff. So I feel like when
Yeah.
that is broadcasted, I feel like it's very good, to learn.
You just went on mute.
I was done because I
Okay. No, that's great. And you're absolutely right. Like, I feel like, it's school can be a bit much, in terms of just academics, instruction, and not really teaching you life skills, and not really teaching you how to coping mechanisms and how to handle certain life situations. Right. So this is sort of that I guess gap bridger, or bridging the gap between that, so that you all have that more well-rounded perspective. Right, you have the academic side, and then you also have the real life situation, how to handle things side. Right, so I love that, Marilyn, and thank you for that feedback. Missy, are you still on the line? Did you hear that?
I don't think Missy's on the line no more.
Did she drop off? Okay, all right. All right, everybody. Any other questions, comments, concerns, gripes, complaints, or otherwise?
I was gonna ask about the summer program, hospitality and travel. I think it's
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So if anybody needs to jump off, please make sure you fill out these surveys. Thank you all so much for your time tonight. I appreciate it. I love the energy. I love the energy. I always talk about you guys to all of my colleagues, and that's why she was so excited to jump on tonight. She's got a full schedule. Otherwise, we would have been able to kind of finagle some things differently. But this was the only time I was able to get her. So thank you guys for your patience with that. And if there are no further questions other than Janaya or anyone else who wants to stay on the line, I'm open to staying on. You all can drop off, or you can stay on and ask any questions that you'd like.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
All right, thank you guys. Don't forget, tomorrow is mandatory, so make sure you're there tomorrow, 6:30 to 7:30.
All right.
All right.
I was gonna say also Professor Patty, I think she did really good. Like she speaks like very like theatrical. Like I love like listening to her speak. But she was also like what do you call it? Yeah, like theatrical, but she had that soft tone, and I really like